I loved my patients, I loved my job, but I was just tired of getting scared.
It's not from this world.
Ala! I saw my friend Ala. I was really shocked.
Are you gonna kiss that man? There's no one there.
I was terrified.
It scared the living out of me.
At a small-town hospital, certified nursing assistant Mindy Trevette has been on the job for 4 years.
It was a fully functioning hospital. They delivered babies, they had an ER, they actually did surgeries. They had a rehab center and a long-term care center. And I kind of fluctuated between those two.
Hello, dear. Hello, dear. So nice to see you. Thank you. You look beautiful today. Oh, it's lovely.
I love just taking care of people. I loved getting attached to them, even though they say as a CNA, don't get attached because they'll break your heart in the end when they pass.
It's beautiful out in the garden.
Yes, it is. Very
The
beautiful.
sun is out.
And the sun's out.
Yes.
But you at least get to be a part of their lives, and they become a part of yours as well. So my mom was ecstatic, the fact that I became a CNA, because she was glad I was following in her footsteps.
See?
There you go.
Hi.
She knew I'd be good at it, and she knew that was something we could relate to each other with.
That was lovely.
I worked the night shift. I like being around the people that I work with on nights. We have a nice flow and just have this underlying communication where they know when I need help and I know when they need help, and we just jump in and do it together.
But there's one part of the hospital that sets Mindy on edge.
It was about a month or two in on night shift when I started just getting weird vibes and creepy feelings. In the long-term care unit, I would feel like something would jump out at me and scare me. I would second guess seeing stuff in people's rooms and be like, is that something or is that just light playing with me? It's creepy to the point where I would run up to the nurse's desk being like, I don't want to be back there by myself anymore. So some of the staff I was able to talk to about it and not feel like I was crazy. And they're just like, no, that's the Twilight Zone. Everybody gets weird feelings back there. You question what you're seeing sometimes.
When you have one particular part of a building that becomes more active than the rest. It could be natural earth energies in that location, ley lines, or flowing water underneath the property. But this could also be an area where there's been a very highly charged emotional impact on the environment, like a very traumatic death or a series of deaths in that same area.
A lot of people have come through the doors and some had not left. And I just felt like there was something there, even though I couldn't really pinpoint what it was.
But one night, those feelings and impressions become something more.
This happened at about 2 in the morning.
Do you hear that?
Yeah. What was that?
It's weird. We should go check it out.
Mindy and her colleague hear a strange noise coming from the hallway.
I was like, is somebody playing a joke on us right now? We knew nobody was in there. And this TV's blaring loud enough for us to hear.
Did you leave the door open?
No.
There was an empty patient room. This door's standing wide open, the TV's blaring, and there's a chair sitting in the middle of the room. But it was just in a weird place that a chair shouldn't be. But even weirder was the TV was on. And the nurse that I was with, he looks at me and he's like, earlier in the shift, I closed that door and everything was turned off. He was like, did you go in there and do that? And I'm like, nope.
When the TV changes channels on its own, Mindy becomes frightened.
And at that point, me and him we're both creeped out. We closed the door, we left the TV going, and we didn't go back in that room until day shift arrived. Whatever's there can stay in there, and I'm not dealing with it right now.
Many times, an entity doesn't realize that they're dead. This could be someone who died so quickly that they got locked into this frame of mind where they're going through their daily lives not realizing that they've passed on. So as a person goes to work, they come home, they have dinner, they go into a room and watch TV, you might find patterns of behavior that seem to cause things physical to happen.
Mindy continues to work the night shift.
I'm like, well, maybe I might have a decent night and no spooky crap will happen. There was a patient that I liked. She could be sweet as pie, but then there's sometimes she could be mean as a snake. But you were able to look at her and just kind of laugh and walk it off. For the most part, I enjoyed her because she was genuine. At that point in time, I just had a feeling that something had changed.
Oh, he's there. Do you see him? Do you see him? No, really, he's there. It's a little boy on my bed. You don't belong here. You stop shaking my bed. There's a little boy sitting on the end of my bed.
She was saying, get that boy off of my bed.
There's a little boy at the end of my bed.
There's nothing
Get
there.
off my
There's
bed.
I said, what are you talking about? There's nothing in here. There's nobody on your bed.
No!
I just wanted to get the hell out of there.
Nursing assistant Mindy Trevette works in a ward where strange events frighten her.
Some of the patients would say that they saw things in their rooms.
Get that little boy off my bed!
Many times, a spirit will be exactly what it is. It's showing itself as that spirit identifies itself. On the other hand, there are also instances where something completely different may want to appear to somebody as a child, somebody much younger than they are.
He's there again. You don't see him. He's there.
And what might be happening there is something a little more sinister, trying to portray someone more innocent.
I don't know what he wants. Who are you?
The redheaded boy was a ghost that a lot of the residents would see. Usually when we heard talk of the redheaded boy, it was somebody was gonna pass soon.
Mindy does her best to reassure the patient in an attempt to calm her down.
I didn't like being in a room where I knew that she was seeing something that I couldn't see. I was getting tired of the spooks. I loved my patients, I loved my job, but I was just tired of getting scared. And I dreaded the rest of the night.
Easy to fast track 2, please. Easy to fast track 2.
I looked up the hallway to kind of like prioritize what I needed to do next. And I saw this happy birthday balloon. and it just floated down the hallway, and there was no air conditioning, no air, no heat was on. It made a 90-degree, went straight down the hall. I felt like something was moving it down the hallway and kind of wanted me to follow.
A balloon is a very childlike object. It's supposed to be for fun, but it also has a little bit of a creepy element to it, depending on what the intent behind the activity of manipulating the balloon would be.
It made another 90-degree to go in this other room.
Somebody's in my room.
I was worrisome to go in this patient's room because I didn't know what was going to happen to me and what was going to happen in this room. It kind of kept getting closer to him. The patient was afraid of what he was seeing. He kept saying, "Get that person out of here. Get that person out of here." He was pointing to the corner over next to the cabinet. He said there was a person standing there. This balloon went to the exact same corner where he had said this person was standing. This patient was screaming.
Stop it! Stop it!
I'm like, okay, there's nobody in here. I felt terrified, and I felt helpless for the fact I couldn't help the patient either.
Stop it!
The entity seen by the patient seems to disappear along with the balloon.
And then he wasn't talking. He was just quiet.
I think balloons being involved in paranormal events has been around for a long time. They're very easily manipulated, either by a slight breeze or static electricity or even a focused concentration of energy. This is something that can be used by a spirit to try to get a message across. It might be just to let someone know that they're there, but also times it could be that something a little sinister is trying to get someone to follow it somewhere else.
So the guy with the balloon, he ended up passing away that week after this happened.
Whatever forces are at work in the hospital give Mindy no peace.
I was terrified at the fact that a whole bunch of crap kept happening and just wouldn't stop. These things can't be consistently happening and not be real. It got to the point where I dreaded going back and taking care of people by myself. All these people have to be checked on in every 2 hours.
Mindy must check in on the patient who had seen the little boy.
She was in the process of dying. She was declining a lot and just wasn't doing well. I was dreading having to go back in her room to follow up care on her. I was thinking to myself, just leave me alone for a little bit. But I knew I still had a job and I still had to take care of her.
Are you gonna kiss that man? What? That man? Are you gonna kiss that man? Kiss who? You see him standing right there? He wants to kiss you.
There's no one there.
I was stunned and terrified. I couldn't believe what was going on.
Nursing assistant Mindy Trevette is terrified by the visions of a dying patient.
Are you gonna kiss that man?
She was kind of playful. She also was kind of a lover of the men, and she was genuinely like asking me, am I gonna kiss him?
He's standing right there. He wants to kiss you.
And I'm like, what man? And she says, that man standing right beside you. And I'm like, there's no man beside me.
Don't you want to kiss that man? He's standing right beside you.
I was terrified. I really felt like I couldn't breathe and that I needed to get out of this room because something bad was gonna go down.
As the night progresses, Mindy must go back into the room of the patient who saw the apparition.
I was shaken up, but I knew I still had to take care of her. So I kind of put my fear to the back burner, and I went in there to do my job. I felt like there was something in there that was threatening and didn't want me in there. Maybe not going to hurt me per se, but just their presence was very overpowering and threatening. I was in the process of changing her.
What's wrong? Something's happening to me. Oh my God, something's happening.
This cabinet comes open, and the pads and briefs that I just pulled from flew out of the cabinet onto the floor. I wanted to get out of that room so quick because I was not going to be stuck in there with whatever the hell that thing was.
What do you think was in that room?
I felt like this was the Grim Reaper. I think the Grim Reaper has different ways of making itself known. I think something was there to take her to wherever there is, whether it be heaven or hell or whatever the extra realm is. This patient ended up passing away the next day.
Hey,
Hi.
you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
I think these experiences have actually, in a way, I feel like have made me a stronger aide, because there is times where I do get creepy feelings at work, but I'm more able to be like, all right, it's a creepy feeling. Let's go on. Let's do our job. I don't get scared as much anymore.
In the weeks following this incident, Mindy doesn't experience any other paranormal events.
I'm able just to blow off experiences being like, all right, maybe something is here, and I'm okay if a ghost is just doing their thing. I do feel like these things have definitely made me a believer in the paranormal, because there was no logical way for me to explain any of the stuff that's happened. And even the people that it's happened to me with, they still can't explain in a reasonable sense of how it happened. I feel like hospitals or anywhere there's any type of death, that there's a likelihood to be spirits, because I mean, hospitals do hold a lot of energy. They hold a lot of good, bad, and the ugly in terms of anything and everything comes to those doors.
Dr. Davis, telephone, please. Dr. Davis.
Late at night, Massachusetts resident Holly Buffington receives a call she's been dreading.
Oh, hi.
The hospital called and said that my mom had taken a turn for the worse, and they told me I need to come down right away because they weren't sure if she was gonna make it or not.
Yeah, just down the hall to the left.
She had lung cancer, and they had to remove her entire lung. The hospital seemed dimmer lit than most hospitals. It made me feel creeped out, uncomfortable. When I entered the room, I saw my mom with all the wires and the tubes attached. She was on life support. They had all the lights off in the room, so it was very dark when I went in. I got a very ominous feeling. My mother wasn't able to communicate with me. She was in almost a coma-like state at that point. I actually stayed over at the hospital. I slept in a recliner chair right next to my mom's bed. I woke up out of a sound sleep, and I looked towards the doorway, and I noticed a little light, almost like a flashlight or a piece of equipment or a reflection of some sort. So then I kind of just dismissed it and went back to sleep. I only slept for maybe 2-3 hours. I saw this light again, and at that point, I realized it's not a flashlight or a piece of equipment. I got a little nervous. It had progressed to kind of this ball of light, and it actually entered into the room. And it hovered right over my mom's body. It was just terribly scary.
When she visits her dying mother in the hospital, Holly Buffington sees a ball of light hovering over her mother's bed.
I immediately jumped up in the chair and froze. I was in shock. I didn't know what the hell it was.
People report orbs in all kinds of sizes, from the very minute to very large balls of light. Nearly all of those could be particles in the air or some type of water vapor. In the case where Holly saw a light come through a door and move across a room, that's not something that can be explained as a natural phenomenon. This would definitely be a paranormal event.
It shook me up and I jetted out of there. I went immediately to the nurse's station. And I was in a panic at this point.
Nurse! Nurse! Please.
What's going on?
There's something really strange going on in my mother's room.
Okay, show me.
Here,
Show me.
Come on.
Come on.
I probably sounded nuts.
I don't know how to explain it. It was so strange. There's something.
Show me.
I entered back into the room with the nurse.
It was right there. The orb was right.
And there was no ball of light.
It was right there.
It was just my mom in the bed and the hospital equipment.
There.
I asked the nurse to check all my mom's vital signs to make sure she was still okay.
Everything looks all right.
And she did. And she said she's in the same state she was. Nothing's changed for the worst.
Come have a seat. Relax. It's all right. Okay.
After the nurse left and everything seemed like it was calm, I went ahead and tried to go back to sleep. I didn't sleep very good. I kept opening my eyes and kind of looking for the ball of light again to see if it would come back in.
So you were still convinced that you saw something?
Oh, I know I saw something. It kind of messes with the head a little bit. Because I know what I saw. I knew I was under stress and tired, but I know myself, and I don't see stuff under normal stressful conditions.
Holly finally falls asleep. But she is soon woken by a feeling that something is not right.
I saw a shape that looked like a gentleman staring down towards my mom. There was an aura around him of light. There was an illumination around his entire body. As I was staring at the glowing silhouette, it turned towards me. And that's when I realized that it was my grandfather looking at me. At that point, I instantly knew that's what that orb was about. It was my grandfather, just not in his whole form yet.
Orbs are commonly thought of as the spirit essence of a person. Once they come back to a physical location, the grandfather is now appearing as he did when he died.
I felt creepy and sad and in awe all at the same time.
But then Holly sees something that is overwhelming.
I saw two figures standing next to my mom's bed. And this time my mother was standing right next to him. I had a moment of terror. I started sweating, had a terrifying reaction, and then I started trying to register in my head what's going on. This time I didn't leave the room. I yelled for the nurse. Because I thought maybe if I stayed in the room, they would stay there.
But as soon as the nurse arrives in the room, the apparitions leave.
They disappeared before she got in the door. And at this point, I'm shaking, I'm crying, I could hardly talk. I thought she died in that second. I thought maybe she came to make sure I knew she's okay, she's with my grandfather.
Let's just check this out.
The nurse said, honey, I don't know what's going on, but your mom's still here.
But she didn't pass
No,
then?
not till the next day. Next day she passed. When I left for 10 minutes to get clothes, she passed.
Grandfather would be there basically to prepare his daughter to transition over to the other side. People often report seeing family members for days or weeks prior to someone's passing. And the common belief is that they are there to help them understand that they're there to receive them once they die. And there might be some last-minute things that that living person might need to work out, maybe emotionally or mentally before they go, that those spirits come and help with.
The strange experience that surrounds her mother's passing changes Holly's view of life and death, and her paranormal intuition.
It opened up a whole new door to feelings that I get, things I can sense. I do think that spirits can detect people that know that they're there. I think you become a beacon for spirits, that they can try to reach out to you.
Something she would discover 3 years later at the same hospital. But this time, as a patient.
So right now,
I got severe Lyme disease, and I also got pancreatitis from the Lyme disease.
just rest.
I was in pretty rough shape. I didn't have a roommate in the hospital room with me. But I heard rustling around on the other side of the curtain. So I said, hi. No answer. So it was a little odd. And then I heard a cough. It felt like someone was in the room with me. I took the curtain and I pulled it. It scared the living out of me.
After being hospitalized with a serious illness, Holly Buffington finds something terrifying in her room.
I freaked out. It was just panic and fear. There was blood all down his face and his beard. His head was kind of crushed in. His eyes were huge. My instant reaction was, get away from whoever this is. I didn't even realize I had ripped the IV out. My adrenaline was on like 10. I told the nurse, there's a dude who needs help. There's blood all over the place.
He was bleeding everywhere.
And I'm like, come with me. So she came in. And nothing there.
And I swear.
Okay.
I know.
She said, oh, you're on a lot of medication and you're sick.
Just really need your rest, okay? There's
She thought from the medication they were giving me that I was, you know, just off in La La Land.
You need to rest. It's okay. Here, let's come back into bed, okay?
I know what I saw, and there's no doubt in my mind that this man was not from this world.
So you think this was a ghost?
Yes.
There's nothing there. You're okay.
For spirits who have some type of traumatic event where they might be injured, they might be disfigured, when they appear to people, they often appear as they see themselves in that moment of death, that moment they may be trapped in.
Holly fully recovers from her illness. But her thoughts often return to the apparition that she saw.
I think he was looking for some assistance to get to the other side or to get out of pain. He looked like he was still in pain and scared, very frightened. I asked the nurse if someone by that description had passed away in that room. And she told me, yes, there was a gentleman that actually passed away that had brown hair, beard, and came in with massive head injuries. I believe I was kind of like a lighthouse for him, and he knew that I would see him there, and he tried to reach out to me for help. And I feel bad now that I didn't comfort him in some way. Before I left the hospital, I said, I'm sorry for whatever happened to you, and I hope that you can move on. You're not stuck here, and you can leave whenever you want. hoping that it would help him move on, because I felt bad for him.
In the late 70s, Iraqi soldier Steve Ramsey is stationed at a military hospital in northern Iraq.
My name's Saad Ramzi Ismail. That's the Arabic name. My converted name, Steve Ramsey. So I've been known as a Steve for the last 4 years. I was drafted by the Iraqi army in 1976. By law in that country, they have to serve in the army anywhere between 1 year and 1 year and a half. So I was an X-ray technologist. In the morning, you do like 1 hour, 2 hour training, like a foot soldier. And then after that, you have to go to your department. I was at the radiology department.
After a long day of training and lab work, Steve sits to have his first meal of the day.
And it was the holy month of Ramadan. The breakfast usually when the sun set. So I'm sitting at the table and I saw my friend Ala.
Allah's sudden appearance confuses Steve.
He was stationed in Erbil, so he's way, way far.
Ala!
I love Ala like my brother, and he's more than my brother because I went from primary school to high school to college with him.
Ala!
Ala, come over, you know, in my language, of course, and I'm about to break the fast, come in. So I continue calling him, he didn't answer.
Ala, أرجوك تعال إلى هنا.
As soon as he come closer,
لماذا أنت هنا؟
you can feel his sadness.
علاء تعال إلي يا صديقي. علاء.
And he don't move his head, he don't turn, and I kept calling.
أرجوك تعال إلى هنا. علاء.
When he tries to walk towards his friend,
لماذا أنت هنا؟ تعال إلي يا صديقي.
something strange happens.
Somehow, I just couldn't move.
At a hospital in northern Iraq, X-ray technician Steve Ramsey sees a friend who shouldn't be there.
علاء علاء أرجوك تعال إلى هنا. علاء.
The other friend was an X-ray technologist also.
As soon as his friend arrives, Steve is able to move again.
So he came and I told him the story. I said, I saw Ala and he went there, he ignored me and he just went in this room.
Ala!
Continue calling him, he didn't answer. Nothing is there.
Steve checks in with the front desk of the hospital.
I called the reception in the front because nobody comes through military hospital without checking the registration. That's by law. Like, you can get shot if you come at night. So I called the front desk and I asked, he said, no, we don't have any registry in this name. I tried to make sense of it and I can't figure it out.
The next day, Steve tries to rationalize what he saw.
Most of the soldiers sometimes they play trick on each other. My friend told me he probably play prank on you, and somehow we're gonna see him, he might come back, and we laugh about it.
On a break in the middle of a grueling day, Steve is overwhelmed by fatigue.
When I went to sleep, I saw my friend Ala. As soon as I wake up, I was a little bit confused when I saw Ala day before. It looked like a mirage. It looked like mirage. I thought maybe it's a distant.
Steve begins to doubt that his friend's appearance was a prank.
Saturday, September 4, I'm still on duty.
Then comes the kind of news that nobody wants to hear. A military casualty.
Then the officer says, Steve, there's a truck coming from north. Would you please help the soldier deliver the body to the morgue?
Steve suspects the victim is a university graduate and part-time soldier like himself.
And I know somehow it's gonna be a graduate. A lot of graduates get killed by snipers because they put us right there in the front line. The active soldier, very smart, they know what to do. We just there.
Steve has an uneasy feeling. He wants to know the identity of the body.
Ala! Ala!
And it was Ala. And as soon as I see him, I was really shocked because he's your best friend. I realized that the night before I saw my friend Ala ghost. Of course, in that moment, I don't know he was a ghost. But when I saw his body day after, then I knew I saw the ghost day before.
Military hauntings are very dynamic, very complex. There's usually a mixture of fear and anger and dread and all these highly charged emotions. And people die so fast that they don't even realize they're dead.
I thought about it later on after a few days when I rest and deliver the body to the family, and I started kind of thinking about it. How come I see it? How come he come here? I know he tried to tell me something, but I was so sad he didn't give me any message. I couldn't figure it out, what he's trying to tell me, why he come to see me.
There are many people that report having sightings of friends or family members, not knowing that they have died. It's almost a gift in a way to let those people know that they're still around, that they're there, and although they're gone physically, in some sense, they remain.
To see a real person, day before he died, and then you find out that it was ghost, but it opened my mind to a lot of possibilities. So actually, it's given me a really positive enforcement. Our spirit, we're not just gonna die and go. So I'm thinking in a positive way. After I pass, I know my spirit is gonna go in good hand.